Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another episode of In Depth with David. This is Bruins series recap number 3, where we are recapping the Bruins playoff matchup against the Washington Capitals in the first round of the NHL playoffs. And once again, I'm joined by my cousin Bryan. Bryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It was a solid effort last night, especially in overtime. We came away with the win, so doing good.
Yeah, it's always good to be up 2-1. This series has been really weird because with the way it's been played, you'd think the Capitals, who have been in control for a lot of it, would be up in the series potentially 2-1 or 3-0, and it's a couple plays away from being that, but instead it's the Bruins up 2-1.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising if the Capitals were up right now. Yeah, the way the series has been played, but yeah, yesterday at least we looked good in overtime, so maybe we can carry that into the next one.
Right, so I guess we'll just talk about the game a bit, go period by period. First period was kind of a barn burner. Nothing really happened.
A lot of penalties.
Right.
That kind of, when there's a lot of penalties, it almost like it messes up the flow of the game sometimes, and I think like that's what happened with the first period yesterday.
Yeah, so all the penalties here. Alex Ovechkin got 2 minutes for interference. Mike Riley on the Bruins got high sticking on Oshie. Too many men on the ice for the Bruins. I mean, just a Dumbo penalty.
I don't know. Richie was like, I don't know what you're doing. You got to wait for you got to like at least know that. I don't know who was getting off the ice, but you got to at least like wait for them to get close to the bench.
Right. That play wasn't even close. Like you can I can live with too many men on the ice sometimes, but Nick Ritchie, like what the heck were you doing on that play? So, that was that. And then Zdeno Chara had 2 minutes for slashing. And then John Carlson, 2 minutes for delay of game. I think he flipped it over the boards. And then Sean Corelli tripped Alex Ovechkin. So all these were penalties just in the first period.
Yeah, and there was no goals in the first period, right?
Right. So a few good chances. Chris Wagner had a chance to pass it to Corelli, who was crashing it in the middle. But he kind of took too long to pass it. And also the defender made a nice sliding play to kind of block the passing lane. So just kind of a tough situation nonetheless. Bergeron had 2 good opportunities in another possession. Wagner had a good opportunity in front of the net. And we'll talk about Wagner a little bit more. But even though he didn't light up the stat sheet, I thought he had a solid game last night.
Oh, yeah. And so some of those Bergeron chances were on the 5-on-3, right? And it's always tough when you're not scoring a 5-on-3, but at least we looked pretty good on it. But honestly, at that point, we didn't score on a 5-on-3, and I was just like, things weren't looking good because if you don't score on the 5-on-3, like that's a chance you really should be scoring on. But it looked good, so you don't really gain momentum because you didn't score on it, but at least it looked good, so you didn't lose any.
Right. And I mean, I thought that was our best power play of the series, or one of the better ones, because like you said, even though we didn't score and it was a 5-on-3, so that was pretty disappointing. I thought we got a lot of good opportunities on net. Some other good opportunities in the first period. David Krejci got one to the defenseman, Mike Riley. He had a chance at wrapping it around, but Oshie made a nice stop with his leg. And another good thing I want to note about the first period was that the Bruins' penalty kill was a lot more aggressive.
Yeah, we didn't let them get anything going, and they had a tough time getting into the zone and like establishing any sort of puck possession. So that was a big difference from the previous 2 games where we were kind of stuck in our own end on the penalty kill. But yeah, we looked much better, at least in the first period, on the penalty kill in last night's game. So that was a big improvement.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about how that was kind of the Caps mentality when they were on the PKs, being way more aggressive. And for us to take a page out of their handbook was really good. I mean, we had some good opportunities. I remember vividly, like Coyle took one-on-one on the PK, and you didn't score. But I mean, I don't mind us being aggressive there, and obviously it worked. Ovechkin had a good chance in a Caps power play I have written down, but nothing came out of that. Krejci, when it was the 5-on-3, getting back to that, gave it to Bergeron, who was right in front, but Bergeron couldn't punch it home. And then Marchand, once again, it seems like it's the theme of his career. Wide open net, can't get it in there. He tried to deflect it off a Pasta one-timer from the point and just couldn't get it in there. Shot off a Washington player's leg. I mean, what are your thoughts on Marchand this series? Because I think I summed it up pretty well in that text I sent you last night, where I love him and hate him at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, He's on the score sheet a lot. He's contributing offensively, but obviously like it's the he's also, I looked at some stats earlier. He's our leading player in penalty minutes this series. So obviously that's not what you want to see from him, but he is doing good on the score sheet too. So it's like mixed feelings, but if he could just stop getting penalties, it'd be all positive for him. But yeah, he's just gonna stop with the stupid penalties.
Do you think he has the mental capacity to stop taking these penalties? Because it's been 3 games so far, and that's almost halfway through a 7-game series, and he keeps doing this crap. I mean, do you think he's going to be able to stop, or do you think this could be a downfall for the Bruins?
I mean, you would hope he would be able to stop, but like, I know this is getting ahead a little bit. I think it was in the second period. He did the exact same thing he got a penalty for in the previous game, which was putting a stick in someone on the Capitals' face. He did it again last night, and he got a penalty for it. I don't know what he was expecting. You can't be doing that. And, you know, so I don't know if he's going to be able to clean it up. You would think a guy like that, with all the offensive skill he has, he would just want to clean it up and, you know, be out there. But I don't know. He just might not be able to.
As someone who played hockey before, do you think Bruce Cassidy, when Marchand gets back to the bench after a dumb penalty like this, is laying into Marchand, or do you think he's just kind of like ignoring it?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Marchand is like the second he does that and goes to the box, he knows he shouldn't have done it. But I think
kind of like a kid who knows he shouldn't take a cookie from the cookie jar in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Bruce is going to be yelling at him. I feel like if it was someone of lesser I mean, it shouldn't really be like this, but I feel like if it was someone of like a lesser caliber, Bruce would probably yell at him and then maybe bench him for a few shifts, which, I mean, that doesn't happen to Marchand because he's our best offensive player. But I mean, I wouldn't mind Bruce like giving it to him a little bit because you really can't be doing that. And I'm not sure if Bruce actually would, but personally, like, it wouldn't bother me if Bruce had like laid into him a little bit for doing that, because that was just really dumb. Like, and then Ovechkin went on to score on the power play from that penalty too. So
I always like how when the Bruins take a stupid penalty, Nesson is really good at this. Like, they know exactly what they're doing. The camera's cut immediately to Bruce Cassidy, and you can just tell he's just like, he's literally about to throw up. And that happened again last night. So I like that he's passionate like that. I hope he lays into Marchand about this stuff because, you know, people are saying like, oh, don't be too mean to the players. Whatever. Marchand was being an idiot. Just lay into him. That's how I look at it. But just jumping back to the first period quickly at the end, Capitals had a power play that started in the first period and went into the second period. Ovechkin had a wrist run it, but got stopped by Tuukka. But the shots after one, Bruins 10, Capitals 4. You know, I think that stat's kind of a little bit misleading because the period kind of seemed a little bit more even than that. Yes, the Bruins were getting probably the better opportunities in that period, but, you know, nothing really stood out to me from either team in that first period. Yeah,
I agree. And like, we want to put up those numbers like 5-on-5. We want to be out shooting them, not just like when we're on the power play the whole time. Like, so yeah, nothing really stood out except for, you know, the penalty kill definitely improved from the previous 2 games.
And then to start off the second period, this was Brendan Dillon on the Caps, one shot on the game, and he got a good shot off on Rask, and Rask had to make a nice sliding save. I think he like hugged the post on this play too. He kind of stuck with it. It was not an easy save. He initially made the save, I think, with his jersey or whatever, but then
is that the one it bounced like up in the air and you really couldn't? Yeah,
and then he had to like hug the post.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a scary one. Like, you never know with those ones.
Right, so Dillon made it count in his one shot, but Rask made a nice sliding save. And then this is where the Bruins start to get a little physical. Chris Wagner, is he on our 4th line, I want to say?
Yeah, last night I'm pretty sure at least he was.
Yeah, he makes a big hit on former Bruin captain Zdeno Chara, and then he ends up dropping Jensen to the ground, and that wasn't the first time Jensen got viciously hit. No. So that was good. And then Pasternak later in the period, along the boards, found Marchand, and Marchand was able to get a good shot on net, but nothing came out of it. And then Schultz on the Capitals got denied right in front of the net by Tuukka Rask. Tuukka made a nice save. Then after that, we talked about this earlier, but we get into the dumb penalty that Marchand took. literally just like we're witnessing an episode of The Twilight Zone where it's the same situation with Marchand, and he just does that dumb thing with the stick again where he pokes him.
It was dumb when he did it like the second game, and it was dumb when he did it this game. I really don't know why he did it. I mean, I don't know if he got it, like if he did it previously in the regular season and he got away with it, and that's why he thought he could just do it again. But clearly, in this series, the precedent has been set that if you go sticking your stick in someone's face after the whistle, you're getting or during the game too, but you're gonna get a penalty for it. So I don't know why he's doing that, and he got a penalty for it.
What do you even think the end game is? Like, do you think he's just trying to get under their skin? Like, that's the main intent? Like, does he not realize that he's going to get 2 minutes in the box and he's not? This isn't him in the Canucks playoff series where he can punch Sedin in the face and get away with it. I mean, I don't get it.
I mean, he definitely thinks he's getting under the skin, but at the end of the day, the Capitals are the one who benefit from stuff like that because they get the power play. So it really makes no sense. Like, if you look at it from an outside perspective, I just don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, and he did it on Brendan Dillon, who I think it was Tom Wilson in game 2 who baited him, and then it's Brendan Dillon in this game, which, I don't like to give the Caps too much credit because they're the rival, but credit to them. I mean, you can get under Marchand's skin and make him take the bait, and you could see Brendan Dillon on that play, like, waving his hand, like, come on, like, do something to me, and then Marchand does it. And what do you know? The refs just say you're gone, and you just got to keep him out of the box. It's weird because I think Marchand thinks, and, obviously he went on to tie the game in the third period. We'll jump ahead, whatever. We'll still talk about the second period, but I just wanted to say that. But I wonder if Marchand thinks, yeah, I'm taking these dumb penalties, but I'm also the reason why this team is in these games, because obviously he won the game for us in game 2. He tied for us in game 3. So it's almost like it's a catch-22 where you want to be mad at Marchand for taking these penalties, but he's also the reason why we're not down in the series. Yeah,
for sure. I feel like it's probably not very often where the guy getting the most penalties in a series is also the best player, but that's how it has been this series so far, at least.
Yeah, and then on the power play off the Marchand penalty, almost seemed like first possession they had. Mantha was behind the net, found Dovey out in front, got a pass Rask into the back of the net to make it 1-0 Capitals. I don't really blame Rask for this one.
No, especially it's like a pass across the crease kind of, and with Ovechkin, you really can't blame the goalie. But I want to say McAvoy had the puck behind the net and he got stripped by Mantha, and I think McAvoy was held on the puck a little too long there, and he probably should have just iced it. But either way, it ended up in the back of the net, and I wouldn't really be blaming Tuukka for it.
Is that the only player you would blame in that situation? Because that's how I would look at it. Probably just only blame McAvoy because we're on the PK, and you're facing a good Capitals unit. I mean, that's how I look at it. It's kind of hard to blame anyone in that situation.
Yeah, if he could have probably just got rid of it a little quicker. But at the end of the day, it happened, and I'm not gonna sulk about McAvoy turning that over because he's also our best defenseman.
And then 56 seconds later, do you want to explain what happened?
That was so I don't know who kept it in initially and got it to Craig Smith, but then Craig Smith just made a backhand pass, kind of like a blind pass. He wasn't really even looking, found Hall, and Hall made a beautiful play. I don't even know how you elevate the puck when you're that close to the goalie. And I mean, I thought he had he did. He had nothing there. And pretty much I counted it out. I was like, okay, he's just going to stuff it into Samsonov's pads. But Hall was able to lift it right over his head and passed it. I can't even really describe it, but it was a really nice goal. And I was just shocked that he was able to do it. But that's the type of player we traded for in Hall, and that's why we traded for him, because we needed depth scoring, and we have another skilled guy that we can look to in situations where we need a big goal. And it's just so nice to see that because he just the way he's panned out for us overall has been awesome. So it was really good to see.
Is that one of the better goals you've seen? Because in my opinion, that was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, seriously was. I really thought I was like, oh, he's just gonna stuff it into Samsonov's pads and that's gonna be that. He's just gonna cover it or whatever. But somehow he was able to just elevate it right over his head. It was a perfect shot, and it was really impressive. All the little stick handles he made in order to get into that position where he could lift it over Samsonov's head. So it was really impressive.
I think that was one of the weirder plays in the game, but it's also one of the more memorable, obviously, plays because it was just so nonchalant. Obviously, you talked about Craig Smith with the backhand pass, and then Hall went forehand or backhand forehand to get the goal and just completely put it over the top of Samsonov. And I mean, I don't think I don't think Craig Smith, Taylor Hall, or Samsonov on that play expected a goal to happen. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, I watched it again, and like Samsonov, kind of like, because Hall really had nowhere to go with the puck, so you could see Samsonov kind of dive out a little bit, or like just come out of the crease a little and try to just like poke check Hall, or just cut down the angle, and Hall just put it right over his head. And I don't know how he lifted the puck that fast and that accurately, but it was really a really nice goal.
Has Hall been better than you expected him to be? Because obviously you remember, did he get drafted by Edmonton?
Yeah.
And then he went to New Jersey. Mm-hmm. He had an MVP year with New Jersey, if I remember correctly. Obviously he struggled with this year with the Sabres until we trade for him. Did you have high expectations for him once we trade for him? And if you didn't have high expectations, are you pleasantly surprised with what you've seen from him?
So obviously, I didn't expect him to be as good as he is, like at all, because on New Jersey, he had that MVP season. Then I want to say he got hurt, and then he came back and just wasn't the same. And then he got traded to Arizona, and on Arizona, he really didn't fit in too well, and he didn't put up that many points. And then to Buffalo, and Buffalo is just a disaster in general, like as a team. And he didn't put up many points there. So coming to the Bruins, I thought he was going to improve, but I didn't think it would be anything like what he's done. And he's fit in perfectly, and it's been really, really fun to watch. So yeah, my expectations initially weren't that high, just because of his previous few seasons. He hadn't looked that great. He hadn't looked up to his MVP caliber.
It seems like this trade's going to age like fine wine for the Bruins if we're able to re-sign Hall in the offseason. Obviously, that's a big question mark heading into the offseason whenever it begins for Boston. But we gave up Anders Bjork and a 2021 second rounder for both Hall and Curtis Lazar. I feel like Lazar's been okay. I mean, I don't know if there's many expectations around him, but I feel like he's a solid fourth liner.
Yeah, I think he's got more skill than people think. Like, he can handle the puck pretty good, and he skates well. So I'm happy with it. The trade, obviously, and I'm happy with both players we got back, not just Hall.
Yeah, and I think after the trade, I read somewhere probably a little over a week ago where in the 19 games of that second line play together, Krejci, Hall, and Smith, they scored 16 goals. So it's just, as you said, I think in the first podcast we did, it's just really encouraging that now that the Bruins not only have one line that can score efficiently, but two lines. So it's just something great to see. And then after that beauty of a goal from Hall, little chaos happens as Hathaway on the Capitals crashes into Tuukka Rask, taking the puck aggressively to the net. Rask's helmet flies off in a NHL 21-like play. And then he takes a few jabs at Hathaway with the stick.
He was taking a few jabs. He got the blocker in there, and he was gave him a few jabs. He wasn't holding back. I guess he didn't realize that. I don't know. I can't remember who was on the Bruins, but Hathaway kind of got pushed into Rask, so it wasn't really Hathaway's fault. And I guess Rask didn't realize that. But I mean, his helmet goes flying off, so he was just ready to snap.
Jack Edwards was saying during the broadcast, and I missed this, but that was kind of like retaliation, taking it hard at Rask for something that happened seconds before. I don't know if you remember what they were talking about, but yeah, it was just kind of a weird play with Rask's helmet flying off, and then I'm gonna be honest, I was surprised he didn't get a penalty there, Rask, because he was going in on him. Like, I think if a player did that, it's roughing.
Yeah, for sure, you're getting something like. Yeah, for sure. If that was like a player that wasn't a goalie, that's a penalty. So,
do you think they get a little leeway, the goalies, because it's like the crease is the sacred land, and anything what happens in the crease stays in the crease? Yeah,
I would say for sure something like that goes on, because it's like understood that you really shouldn't be in the goalie's crease, and I guess once you're in there, he has free reign to do what he wants.
Yeah, that play reminded me a lot of Tim Thomas. I'm not going to lie. Because,
yeah, that was some Tim Thomas. That was Tim Thomas. I
remember he did that to someone. Someone came like game 3 or game 4 of the series. Someone came into his crease and they were about to shoot it, and then he just
he just straight up decked it. I think it was one of the Sedins. He just bodied them.
Yeah, and he did the same thing. Burrows gave him a little love tap, and then he just started, wrestling with him. Just classic Bruins hockey. You gotta love it.
Yeah.
After that, Grizzly high stick penalty on Ovi, so the Bruins penalty woes continue. Capitals go on the power play. I believe shorthanded. Yeah, shorthanded. I have written down. Marchand had a nice one-on-one opportunity against Schultz.
Oh yeah, I think that was Marchand when he was skating up the ice. He kept losing the puck and fumbling it, but he was able to get a decent opportunity in the end. So
yeah, he ended up doing a spin move, but he missed wide. Capitals then were able to keep it in the zone. Hathaway finds Dowd for the tip in front, making it 2-1 Capitals, and there was only 1:45 left in the period. So obviously, with a little under 3 minutes left in the third period of Game 2, Bruins were able to capitalize with Hall scoring a late goal. And then this was a true killer because I forget who it was, but someone kept it in the zone, and then Hathaway, or it was Hathaway, I think, and then he found Dowd crashed in the net going through the center of the ice, made it able to tip it home in front of Rask. And there was only a little over 90 seconds left in the period. So this was a killer. Yeah,
so I think that one, Coyle was trying to pass it to Pasternak or something, and it bounced off his stick.
Right.
And then Carlo stepped up to try to get the puck after it bounced off past the stick, and he whiffed too. So, yeah, that gave Washington just an odd man rush. And I think Mike Riley was really the only defenseman back, and you couldn't really do anything to stop it.
Yeah, just some poor puck handling there. I don't think you can blame Rask for that. It's just,
yeah,
had no one to help him.
Yeah,
which is a theme in this series. But and then right after that, I was even getting more scared right at the end of the period because Sheary on the Capitals had 2 great chances in front. Carr had a 3rd great chance, but somehow, some way, and this is the theme of the latter part of this game, but the Bruins were able to get out of the periods at the end unscathed while the opponent is putting the pressure on. So
yeah, we were taking our foot off the gas pedal at the end of periods.
And then we go to the third period, and right away, Bruins have a turnover in their own zone, and it gives Oshie a good chance. But thankfully, Oshie, he might have even gone in a piece of the post in this play. But
I think he did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
But he ends up missing, and then there was lots of offensive zone time for Washington in the first few minutes of the period. That was just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It was almost like they were on a power play.
Yep, goes back to what Joe said the other day. Getting off the bad periods, and it is a killer when you get off to a bad period. It sets the tone a lot of times for what the rest of the period is going to be like, so you hate to see it.
Why do you think that is? Because other than the first period of Game 2, where we scored 2 goals, obviously Caps came back to tie it in that period, but other than that period, I feel like the Bruins have really let the Capitals control the tempo in all of the series.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with that. I think the Capitals are a bigger and tougher team than a lot of people give them credit for, and I think that's part of it is they just outmuscle us sometimes, and they get the energy going and they get the momentum going just through hits and physical plays and not necessarily goals. So I think that does give the Caps an edge from time to time in this series.
And then Bergeron tipped a McAvoy shot from the blue line that ended up going wide. And then there was a penalty on the Capitals. Daniel Carr tripped Charlie Coyle. And we're thinking this is a blessing from the hockey gods for the Bruins to try and tie it up.
We were thinking that one was do or die. Right.
And Ritchie shot from the left side off of Samsonov. And then Smith had a shot that was a glove save by Samsonov. And I'm going to be honest, I thought the beginning parts of this power play were good, not great. But then the latter part of this power play was just awful. We couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then, once again, later in the period, this is really you're talking blessings from the hockey gods. This is just Jesus Christ himself just blessing the Bruins with another penalty, as Capitals, like the Bruins all game, just can't stay disciplined. And Nick Dowd gets a high stick on Charlie McAvoy. Bruins get another power play. And you want to explain how the goal was scored? Because I thought this was a great play. Marchand was finally able to cash it home, but I just liked how aggressive everyone was in this play.
Yeah, so Bergeron's always good in front of the net and getting his stick on pucks. So I think Bergeron shot it, right? And then it kind of flipped up and Marchand batted out of the air and got it by Samsonov. And so Marchand's got it. He kind of made up for his earlier play, I guess, but the same time, if he didn't do it over, he wouldn't have scored on the power play. But yeah, it was really good hand-eye by Marchand to bat it in.
Right, and I mean, it was really Krejci who started this play, and we're kind of talking about playoff Krejci. We're waiting for him to kind of break out. We've kind of seen moments of that in this series of vintage Krejci in the playoffs, but I feel like this was his best play of the series. He ended up getting it started, passed it to McAvoy, who passed it to Bergeron in front, who, as you said, had the shot, and then Marchand kind of just batted it out of the air, was able to cash it home, and Bruins end up tying it 2-2. And this was huge because Marchand had a chance to tie it right before this with somewhat of an empty net again, and ended up missing. Granted, I think a stick got in the way or something like that from the Caps, but come on. Like, once in a while, we got to cash in on these like golden opportunities where barely anyone's standing in front of the net. But nonetheless, Bruins tie it 2-2, and then we let our foot off the gas. So Tom Wilson gets a great opportunity. I think you knew what I was just going to say. Talk about the Tom Wilson thing for a second.
So was that the miscommunication? And I don't remember the two Bruins players involved. I think it was Corrali and Carlo, maybe. Definitely Corrali, I think.
Yeah. So delayed offside. Bruins ignored the puck. Wilson takes advantage of it, and thank God he dinked the post.
That was just, I don't know, that was awful. Just yelling at the TV. It's like, someone get it. Like, how do you give the other team the time to get back, like tag up, get back on sides, then come back in and get the puck and have a good opportunity? Like, I don't know how we managed to let them have the time to do that. And it was just poor communication. Someone's just going to get that puck.
Because we weren't in the middle of a line change either, right? It was just, for whatever reason, he was playing off the puck. Right?
I don't know what was going on. It was just, I think it was just one of those moments where like, oh, you're going to go get it. And the other guy's thinking the same thing. So it was just no one ended up getting it, I guess.
It reminded me of those plays in baseball where you see the two outfielders like trying to call each other off for the pop-up, and then it just drops in between two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, just unexcusable in the playoffs, but the Bruins, or the hockey gods, are looking over the Bruins again as Wilson dinks it off the post. Thank God. And then Marchand in transition, or later on in the period, had a nice shot, but it was blocked by the leg or the stick of Ovechkin. And then Orlov had a shot from the blue line, saved by Rask. Later in the period, this was right in the end. I think it was in the final minutes, too. Tom Wilson gets another great chance, but he ends up dinking it off the crossbar from the right side. Do you think this is karma for his dirty play at the end of the season?
You would like to think so, but just after the Bruins score, you have all the momentum in the world, and we really just squandered it. The Capitals were down our end pretty much the rest of the game, hitting posts and getting good chances. And I mean, that was really hard to watch, but luckily we were able to force overtime. We survived that onslaught, and yeah, we got pretty lucky that we did.
I mean, I don't know what happened, and we texted about this too. It seemed like right after the Bruins tied the game, we were just content with going to OT because we just let our foot off the gas completely. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Wilson, as I said, dinked it off the crossbar. Chara had a wrister that was stopped. Raffle tried to wrap it around, but thank God Marchand was there to stop it. And thankfully, for the third straight game, we have overtime. But again, it seems like a power play for the Capitals at the end of regulation. That just needs to stop because nothing good is going to come out of just letting these teams keep it in the opposing zone.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but going into overtime, my confidence level is at like an all-time low. We just got – because I thought we looked gassed at the end of the third, and I was like, that really doesn't bode well for overtime because, I mean, we're just going to be more tired. So, really, my confidence was not very high going into that first overtime.
I would say the same because we just did not look good at the end of that period. And as we've seen, the way you play at the end of the period – well, it's weird kind of for the Bruins because throughout the series, we played bad at the end of periods, but then we turn it around at the beginning or vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
So
I guess we're due to switch it up again.
Right. I mean, it's just I can't understand this team this series. I'm not going to lie. Like, we've won 2 games, but I still don't know how. So we go to OT. Smith throws it on the net, ends up getting denied. Mike Riley throws it into the crease, but Samsonov stops the redirect. And then Pastrnak, who I personally have been waiting to kind of be more aggressive and break out in the series. he hasn't been totally quiet, but I've kind of been disappointed with him in the series so far. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I agree. It's been like it's weird. It's been like that kind of a season for him at points where he just doesn't have it sometimes. But hopefully he gets a goal here and gets going.
Yeah, so Pastrnak ended up throwing one on net, but Samsonov denies it. Hall shot it off the face-off, and it ended up getting denied. And then Orlov got a slapper for the Capitals that got stopped by Rask. Marchand had 2 great chances to cash it home.
Yeah.
Had a juicy rebound, but couldn't get it home. Marchand flipped Hathaway over. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, I did. Hathaway was coming in to hit him, right, and he just gave him just ducked on him. And yeah, that we looked pretty good in overtime though, especially like that first one. At least we looked good, and that was a surprise to me.
Right. Some more opportunities. Riley had a slapper, but it was stopped. Orlov, one-timer from the right side, was wide. Grizzly kept him in the zone on one play. He found Pasta in front, but Pasta was denied. Coyle had a backhander in front of the net, but that went wide. Raffle almost wrapped it around on Bruins turnover, and then McAvoy couldn't get the backhand to Wagner with under a minute left in OT. But I thought we looked really well, as you just said. Again, this was a period where we didn't score, but I thought we dominated the period. The Caps got a few good looks, but I would say we got the majority of the better chances on Samsonov. And more credit to him. I mean, he was great in the net.
Yeah, for sure. He kept them in this one because we had our foot on the pedal. We were taking a lot of shots, and he was up to the challenge.
Was it a surprise to you that they put him in net and didn't stick with Craig Anderson?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I was a bit surprised, but at the same time, I'm not gonna I can understand why they did it, but Craig Anderson hadn't he didn't look awful or anything in the first 2 games, and so I wasn't shocked, but I was a bit surprised that they switched it up. But it worked. It seemed to work out for them.
How is Samsonov as a goalie? Because I just looked him up, and I didn't realize this. I thought he was a lot younger. He's actually 42 years old.
24.
He's 24?
I think so. Samsonov. He's not 42. Maybe you're looking at a different one.
I'm looking at Sergei Samsonov.
Hold on, let me look it up. I don't think there's no way
I'm probably wrong. I'm a little confused right now.
Ilya Samsonov is the one in net for the Capitals.
Ilya, okay. Let me take
he's 24.
My mistake. How is he? Is he has he gotten many chances before this for the Capitals, or is this kind of like his best chance to be their goalie?
So I don't know. So previously, previously the Capitals had Holtby and the Samsonov, so they kind of split time, and I think Holtby really helped his development. So I mean, he's been up and coming for a little bit, and there are points where he looks like a really solid goalie, but this season I don't think he's really had it. I think I want to say he had like a .902 save percentage this season, which that's not great. It's all right, but it's definitely not a good save percentage. So, I mean, I think he's up and coming, and he still has room to improve overall. I'd say those are my thoughts on him. So he has room to grow, and this season he's been just okay.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I thought he was solid in the
this game he was solid for sure.
He kept. I mean, we could have scored plenty of times in that overtime, but I thought he made some quality saves. Very underrated performance from him. I think I forget how many saves he had exactly, but I want to say he had close to 40 saves in the game last week.
I think he might have had, either 40 or just over. So,
good performance from him, but nothing comes out of the first overtime, so we head to a second overtime. And just playing this, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but playing this much overtime in the first 3 games of a series obviously is going to do a number on the players, but do you think, is it as much more of a handicap that they play every other day and they don't have 2 days off in between games? Because obviously they want to try and get this season done because of COVID, just to match up the timeline. But do you think that's also a big deal to the players?
Yeah, that definitely doesn't help. And I know when you're playing at such a high level, and you have guys that are 35 and over who, it takes longer for guys like that to recover and get ready for their next game. So I think any days between games, having more days between games would definitely help, especially those older players out. And it definitely definitely probably will play a role in what we see in next game because it's such a short turnaround, and it's a long game, and you only get 1 day to recover from it. So I'm sure guys will be beat up and will have tired legs for the next one. But yeah, they got to do what they got to do to fit in this condensed schedule to fit games in.
Right. I mean, it's a tough situation for all the leagues to be in. Tough situation for the whole world to be in with what's going on with the pandemic. But hopefully we're towards the end of this. But we head into the second tee. DeBrusk gave Nick Ritchie a nice opportunity in front, but Nick couldn't cash in. Marchand just missed an opportunity to score. And then 5 minutes in, or not 5 minutes in, sorry, before that, Marchand ended up getting it to Pasta, who this was his best opportunity of the series to score as he was cutting through the middle to get to the net. He tried to get it past the pad of Samsonov on a backhand. He used a move that we've seen him score on plenty of times throughout his Bruins career, but Samsonov denied it. Nice play by him. But then the aftermath of this play was what was really concerning for Bruins fans as he ends up crashing into the boards and gets shaken up.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, and I think he got back out, so that was good. But obviously, that would have been a huge loss. And I just want to say, like, on that breakaway, you can see Capitals players kind of have their sticks up near his hands. And like during a regular season game, that is almost every time going to be a penalty or a penalty shot. But just because of the moment, and you want to let the players play, the refs didn't call it. But from what we've seen this season, the refs have been like pretty favorable towards the offense and towards the guy with the puck when it comes to like breakaway situations. So Pastrnak was getting harassed pretty bad on that. He had, I think, multiple sticks around his like hands and in that area. So there was no penalty on it in this overtime playoff game, which I can understand. But in the regular season, that's probably getting called.
Does it annoy you the inconsistency of the refs' mentalities where we saw something in game 2 where so many match penalties were being called and it seemed like, oh, I said hi to you, and then you said hi to me. You're both going to the box. Then we see something like this happen where Pasta doesn't get a penalty called for him. Does this inconsistency from the refs just kind of bother you, or do you understand it?
Well, no, in the case of Pastrnak, I understand because throughout the whole regular season, like there can be the slightest bit of contact with the stick on a player's hands or like in that area, and the refs will call it a penalty like pretty much every time. So it definitely wasn't consistent with what happened last night because that wasn't called a penalty. But I think I'm okay with it in like a big moment like that in the playoffs where, that you don't want the game to be determined by like a little infraction like that. But if the refs wanted to really be consistent, they would have called it. So it didn't really bother me too much. But I mean, either way, I would have been okay if it had been a penalty or not.
From your experience as a hockey player, is it tough to decide in the moment what move you want to make on a breakaway?
Honestly, a lot of times you're not even thinking. You just maybe pick your head up for a second. If you see anything there, you shoot. And if you don't, you just go in and just hope you come up with a move that works. So, yeah, a lot of times you're just not even really thinking because things happen so fast.
Do you think Pastrnak should have gone with a different move there? Because I feel like the goalie Samsonov kind of predicted what he was going to do, obviously with like the butterfly position and stopping with his pad. Or do you think it's just one of those things where you just got to tip your cap to the goalie because he made a good save?
Yeah, a little bit of both. And well, he was and like I said, he had Capitals guys on him, and it would have been hard for him to really pull off anything else. So I think what he did was fine. I wouldn't really change anything. I'm sure if he could do it again, he would probably change something, but like in the moment it's so difficult, and he had pressure on him, so I can't really blame him for not scoring on it.
Yeah, it's a tough play to make for sure. Do you think this is a sign? Because I feel like in the second half of this game, and I'm talking like the overtime periods and I guess third period and overtime periods, we saw a more aggressive Pastrnak. I feel like we can see this in the rest of the series because we really need him to get going. Obviously, Bergeron and Marchand have done their thing offensively this series. Second line has been solid. Third line, you have contributions from people like DeBrusk and Ritchie. Fourth line, kind of looking for a bit more. But do you think this could get Pastrnak going, an aggressive game like we saw last night?
Man, I hope so because we need it. He likes his spot on the power play. He kind of sometimes he just sits at the point and he'll take shots from far out, which is fine for rebounds and stuff. But a lot of times, that shot's not going in. And when he's stagnant on the power play, especially, is like you'd like to see him get more aggressive. So hopefully, like hopefully he's sparked from this recent game to continue being aggressive, and if he continues that, we should be in good shape.
Right. So, final play of the overtime, the second overtime period, was a mishap, a defensive miscommunication for the Capitals this time. Obviously, we saw one with the I can't even talk right now. We saw one with the Bruins at the end of the third period where they let Tom Wilson tag up and get the puck, and he dinked the post. But then the Capitals have a defensive miscommunication that ends up costing them this game in the second overtime.
Yeah, I don't even really know who's to blame with this one. So Samsonov stopped the puck behind the net, and he had Schultz coming in behind him along with Smith. And I think that Schultz was expecting Samsonov to kind of backhand the puck rather than just stopping it and leaving it for him. And Schultz took a weird angle on it. Like, he didn't go straight to the puck because, again, I think he thought Samsonov was going to kind of try to feed it to him, and that just didn't happen. So it was a big miscommunication. The puck was just left sitting there, and Smith got it and just did a quick wraparound and tucked it, and really Samsonov didn't have a shot, and Schultz was really not a factor on the play.
Yeah, Schultz kind of slowed up in taking possession of the puck, and Craig Smith with a heads-up play to kind of beat him to the puck, and then just wrap it around before Samsonov could even just practically put his helmet on, or whatever you want to call it, because he wasn't even in position. Tucked it in right past his pad before Samsonov got back into position. Bruins end up winning on a play like that. It's a pretty good game other than that. I'm kind of sad it ended on, such a lackluster mental error. But
I feel for Samsonov because he had such a good performance leading up to that, but, I'll take it.
Was that more of a play, which, by the way, Bruins win. We lead the series for the first time 2-1. But was that more of a dumb play by Schultz or just a heads-up play by Craig Smith?
I mean, it was a bit of both. I don't know what – I mean, definitely Smith, like, that's a good heads-up play. Just get straight to the puck, and immediately he knows just to wrap that around because he knows that Samsonov's not going to be ready for it. But also Schultz, he kind of took his time, and I don't really know what he was doing. And I don't know. People want to blame Samsonov and people want to blame Schultz. And I personally, I don't know. It's really on both of them, I think. But Schultz definitely, he took a weird angle getting to that puck and just opened the door for Smith. So it was definitely both. It was bad on Schultz and good on Smith.
Is it hard for a team to rebound from a mistake like this? Because a mental mistake like this in the playoff game is very demoralizing, and you've seen it happen where teams kind of can't mentally recover from this, and it affects their play in the rest of the series. Is that something that you could think could happen with the Caps, or do you think they're kind of in the mindset where they're just going to brush this off and just move forward to Game 4 and try and tie up this series?
So, I mean, losing on a mistake like that is tough, and then you can compound that with the fact it was in double overtime. So it's definitely a tough loss for them, and I mean they're going to be thinking about it. But I think the Capitals are a strong enough team, and we've seen it throughout this series that they'll be able to bounce back, and I don't think it'll affect them too much.
Do you think that was kind of speaking about the whole double overtime thing? Obviously, all first 3 games of the series have gone into overtime. This one, 2 overtimes. Do you think that was more so a play by Schultz where he was just not only physically tired, but just tired in general, and he just kind of wanted to throw in the towel, and it's like, all right, this is a routine play. I can kind of just lower my guard a bit. Yeah,
for sure. When you're skating hard for I don't even know how many minutes at that point, 80, the game was I think, I don't know, it was a long game. And when you're skating hard and you're running out of gas, you really can't think when you're low on oxygen like he probably was. So, I mean, it's tough. You probably just defaulted back into, okay, this is a set play. We'll get it out. We'll get out of this situation, no problem. And that 1 second he took off just really cost him and his team.
Right. I mean, he had just a hair over 29 minutes of time on ice last night.
That's a lot of time.
It's crazy time, not only just for any hockey player, but Bruins end up winning. What do you think the conversation is in the locker room after a win like that? Because this was a game where Game 1, Bruins didn't deserve to win, and they lost. Game 2, you could have made an argument for either team, but I think obviously the Bruins won, so you can justify them winning. Game 3, this is kind of a game where I think the Bruins were somewhat lucky to win. So what do you think the conversation is after stealing yet another win from a good Washington Capitals team?
So, I mean, we were lucky to win, yes, because regulation we didn't have it, especially the end of the third period. Though, like they hit like 2 posts in that span at least, so it wasn't looking good then. But overtime looked good, so I think probably after the game we're more focused on overtime and maybe carrying that momentum that we built in overtime into the next game, because those 2 overtimes we really stuck it to them. So I think that the conversation was probably revolved around how well they skated in overtime, and if we really hustled, we can keep up with these guys, and not only that, we can control games against these guys. So I think the conversation would probably be focused on the positives more than like, oh, we got lucky there. But yeah, so I think we definitely get something to build off with the way we looked in the 2 overtimes, and I think that was probably the basis of the conversation in the locker room afterwards.
I agree with that. I also think, talking about power plays, I think we looked really good on a multitude of our power play opportunities. Obviously, we scored on the one with Marchand that ended up tying it. But I thought we looked good on that 5-on-3, even though we weren't able to score. And I thought we really matched Washington's physicality really well in the game last night. So I think that's another thing if we're talking about tempo setters for something to build off of from last night's game. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy we're up 2-1. This is the epitome of sports where it's a game of inches or a game of plays where if you flip around a couple plays here and there, Bruins could be 3-0 or 0-3. So yep. It's tough. It's a great series, though. I mean, it's why you love playoff hockey. So, yeah, I mean, that was the games.
We got a huge opportunity to go up 3-1 next game in the series. So,
and I just remembered another thing I want to touch upon was I liked the defensive I didn't love, but I liked the defensive performance by the Bruins in Game 3.
Yeah, definitely less odd man rushes for sure. It was a lot more solid in that regard.
That's that is going to be my main talking point. I didn't think we played amazing, but we stopped the 2-on-1s from happening in a multitude. So, gotta love that. Big opportunity to go up 3-1. How do you think Game 4 is going to go for the Bruins?
So, I mean, I picked the series 7 games, so honestly, I think we're going to have a good game, but I think the Capitals are going to find a way to win next game. I have it a 7-game series, so if I want to stay true to that, I have the Capitals winning next game.
For the sake of variety, I'll say Bruins will win. I mean, obviously, I'm biased.
Yeah, I don't want to be picking the Bruins every time. I want
to
switch it up a little.
I'll just be like the Jack Edwards homer, I guess, of the podcast.
No, it's fine. I can definitely see the Bruins winning next game.
I'll say we win 2-1, something like that. I don't think there will be much scoring. After playing a double overtime game, we're going to come out of the gate slow. Maybe the Caps are able to get one past us early again and we come from behind. But I feel like the first period and a half or so is just kind of going to be like Jaws, where you're waiting for one team to strike and then it finally happens and then we are able to get in a rhythm again. But I think us, along with the Caps, are going to feel the effects physically of playing 2 overtimes in last game. But I think the Bees have a great chance to go up 3-1 here and take 2 games at home. And that's what I hope happens.
Yeah, me too, even though I'm picking the Capitals.
Right. No, I respect you trying to switch it up. It's good that we don't always agree on everything here. But yeah, that's going to do it. Bruins recap number 3. Bruins win Game 3, 3-2 in overtime. 12th straight game, I think, between these 2 teams that went to overtime. I saw that stat.
I don't know if it was overtime or like to be decided within 1 goal, like with a 1 goal difference. It was one of the 2.
Okay, so still crazy nonetheless. Got Game 4 tomorrow at 6:30, I want to say.
I think that's right.
So stay tuned for that. We'll have a recap coming sometime after that game. Let me remind everyone to absorb that like button, absorb that subscribe button. Let us know in the comments what you like, what you didn't like, what you like about us, what you don't like about us. Let me just remind you that I have Bruins recaps coming, more of these with Bryan. Celtics recaps coming. Red Sox recaps will be coming. I'll probably have one coming out either tomorrow afternoon or sometime Saturday as well, so be on the lookout for that. Patriots recaps will be coming in the fall once the season resumes. Once 2 of my favorite shows for reality TV in the summer come back, I will be doing recaps of those. and also be doing personal interviews with one of my other friends from college being a co-host. So look forward to that. More content will be coming to the channel in mass amounts. So just something to be excited about. But that is going to do it for this episode of In Depth with David. Thank you, Bryan, for doing this with me once again. It's always a pleasure.
Of course.
Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we will talk to you guys next time.